Why are football managers like Jose Mourinho and Sir Alex Ferguson paid huge sums of money to give talks to business schools and Fortune 500 companies across the world? What do they know about business? There are major comparisons between football leadership and business leadership, and we discuss this on the show. This is two mates talking about something we all love, football. Just like you and your mates sat in the front room, at the stadium, in the pub, or with a bit of sunshine in a beer garden, we discuss all current topics. Sometimes we agree, sometimes we disagree. But to quote the famous words of Bill Shankly, some people think football is a matter of life and death. I assure you, it's much more serious than that. So sit back and enjoy two mates talking football leadership. Welcome again to an episode of Two Mates Talking Football Leadership. We're going to get going straight away with this. Ash, you want to say hello?
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the show.
Perfect. Let's get going with this straight away because time is of the essence. So last week, Manchester United made an announcement that they've brought two new people onto the board. And with you being a Man United fan, passionate about the game, passionate about what they're trying to do, I'll leave it to you to explain to everyone what's happened.
Yeah, no, obviously, as I'm sure all our listeners know, you're Chelsea, I'm Man United. Man United have been criticised for many years now, not so much since Ollie's come in, about our transfer policy. We need a director of football. We need a director of football. Well, now we've got one. We've got a director of football. And I'm just going to give you some brief background about him if no one knew what this guy is. This guy's not new to Manchester United. He's been there 6 or 7 years now. He's had stints at Everton, Fulham, and he's also worked for the Premier League. He specialises in our development of the academy. Now, when I say our development academy, he is involved in, signing players. One of the players he has signed, who just signed a new contract, I believe, in the last 48 hours, I call him Hannibal Lecter, but I think his name's Hannibal Merbal. He's a young player we signed from Monaco, and he is very, very highly regarded at the club. Also, John, Mr. John is Merklo, or Johnny Boy, is actually born in Liverpool. So I hope deep down he's not a Liverpool fan. But the only negative I've heard about this, and this is real business we're talking about here. I know it's football, but a few people have said, well, it's not really a good appointment because he's been at the club 7 years and he's just had a promotion. And that's a good point. But if you've just been promoted to a position, surely in that position, you've got to fulfill your ambitions, your objectives. And Ed Woodward would not appoint him if he didn't feel he's up to the job. And he's also appointed, they say, a technical director, Darren Fletcher, to work along by him. The only disappointing thing I've heard is there's a guy, I can't remember his names, but he's a head of director of negotiations, which is a guy, I think his name's John, no, I've lost the name, but no one likes him. His negotiation skills are terrible. Apparently he couldn't run a bath, let alone a business. So that's the only downer I feel about the appointment. But, John's got a big job on his hands, and he's going to be, every transfer we do from now in the next 2 years, he's going to be judged very, very highly on it.
Okay, well, this John guy, look, he doesn't need to know how to run a business, but if he knows how to negotiate and get deals over the line, who's saying I don't like him? It might.
No, not John. No, John's fine. Darren Fletcher's fine. There's another guy who is our negotiations guy. His name's not, no one really would talk about him unless you really know United. I do apologise, I can't remember his name, but this is a guy that Judge.
Okay, we'll put it in the comments after anyway. That's fine. But I thought you said his name was John. That's why I was saying John. But
everyone's a John these days.
Everyone's a John, yeah, exactly. But in regards to somebody getting a promotion within, it's been there 6, 7 years. If you're looking at a business way, people within that company, they want to see growth internally. So when they see something like that happen, they all of a sudden realise there's potential for them. Maybe there's life for them after the game. But the only trouble is with this is that if he's been there for 6-7 years, and the biggest problem with United has been at that board level, making decisions and getting the right people in. If he's been part of that in some sort of way, then is there going to be any change, or is he just going to be a puppet to Ed Woodward?
All will be revealed. Like I
Yeah.
said, let's see what transfers we do next, because that is where the judgment will come in. Since Ollie's come in, his transfers have been fantastic. You have to judge his transfers compared to previous managers, and they've all been fantastic. Did we pay a little bit more for Maguire? Yeah, it's another argument we could have. Wan-Bissaka? Yeah, it's another argument. But overall, what he's got rid of and what he's got there, and the way there is potential for us to go forward, I feel Ollie is now doing a good job. And I feel now, where he's going to work closely with John Merklow, I feel there's something there. Obviously, Ed Woodward pulls the strings, but Ed Woodward now can take himself out the limelight, go on the commercial side of it, get the brand out there, build the shares up, make more money, and John, Ollie, Darren can work on the transfers.
Yeah, no, on paper it makes sense. And I like this whole Darren Fletcher thing because, I mean, he is just a typical sort of Alex Ferguson player who, I don't know, would anyone else have given him a chance? But, you know, the guy lives and dies for that team. He put everything on the line for
Exactly.
him. The guy, he had those stomach problems, didn't he? What he had some sort of stomach problem, and it would have ended anyone else's career. But he had such passion for United that he came back. And I don't know if he won the Champions League after that or before that, but he's that sort of player you need that's going to run around. And what's really smart there is when you speak about Darren Fletcher, and what I really liked about Ferguson was he had certain teams for certain clubs. So he had certain teams to battle certain teams. So that Park Ji-sung, for example, with Darren Fletcher, they'd come in for certain games. And they'd know they needed to be in for those certain games. The big games, when they had to be more defensive, whatever, people had to run for miles. And Darren Fletcher is blood, sweat and tears of that club. So I think if he's the link between Ollie connecting to the board, then I think it's a great hire, really, a great person to bring in.
I do as well. And, you know, from his personality, he's going to want the best for the club. So now, if there is an issue with a transfer, all the papers will be all over it. So, you know, let's just see how this plans out in the next year or so, because it'll be interesting.
Okay. All right. Well, let's move on. This week, there was some, what I think, shocking news, actually, because I don't know how you could get rid of this guy. Something ridiculous must have happened. But Chris Wilder, who brought Sheffield United back from the bottoms of hell. And what I found out this week was he was a ball boy for the club. He was a player. He's become a manager. You know, he lives and dies that club. And they've not done well this season. They finished the highest they've ever done in the Premier League last season. I don't know if his new owners are coming this season or when it was, but there's been a big arguments between him and the board and the owners of the club. And he's now been fired from the club, which seems to happen quite a bit in football these days. I guess nothing really shocks us, but you would have thought he could be a guy that could bring them back up next season, like Norwich have done with their manager. They went down, they're looking like they're teed up to come straight back up again because they've got a great manager.
Yeah. Chris Wilder, his story is unbelievable because they were in League One, not the Championship, League One. So he got them out of League One. They consolidated in the Championship. He then got them promoted to the Premier League. Then they finished 9th in the Premier League. Now, there's always this saying, you know, can you do it the next season? Yeah. You know, 2-season syndrome, whatever. You know, players, clubs alike. It happens all the time. I mean, obviously, you've got to look at your heart and your head. Your heart says you've got to give him more time. He's done so much. But your head says, hold on a minute. He didn't win his first game till the to the 17th to 19th game in the league. Now, if you remember, Crystal Palace had Frank de Boer or Ronald de Boer. He lost 6 games and he was out straight away. They've been on an appalling run, and I feel overall at the top they've been very patient. But what it comes down to is your decisions and your transfers. So football, you look at it as a business, you look at recruitment. His recruitment has not been good enough. They signed Rhian Brewster, Berg, Ollie McBride or whatever from Swansea. You know, they spent money and he was backed, and these players have not paid off, and they've cost him because he's gone out, instead of buying £5 million players, he's gone for 20, £25 million players. And all of them have been average dog crap at best. You know, they haven't lived up to the expectations. So unfortunately, he's obviously had words with board level, and it must have been a really hard decision for him and the board. You tell me any other manager that would go 18 games in not winning a football game.
Yeah, but why would you get rid of him now?
Because obviously there's disagreements about where the club can go next year, and Chris Wilder's obviously feels like the board are not doing what they're doing. They feel like he's not doing what he's doing. And unfortunately, once there's a breakdown in board level or communications, then someone's always going to leave.
Do you not think he can bring him up next season? Or he could have?
I think easily, if he would have kept the core of the team and, you know, done a bit of transfers that would have got him back up, I think, yeah. But then again, you know, he's been there so long, maybe he's run his course and he's taken them as far as he can go.
Yeah, that's a fair point. I think the biggest miss for them, which is pretty clear, which must be amazing for Manchester United to know, is that their goalkeeper is your goalkeeper, Dean Henderson. And, you know, like Ferguson said a number of years ago, he was like, you know, a goalkeeper gets you 11 to 12 points extra a season. And he's been vital. And even the few games he's played for you guys has been amazing. And he's one of the main reasons, really. If you're not safe from the back, like Liverpool, when they brought in Alisson, you know, it's a complete game changer. But to lose something, but Alisson, like the goalkeeper, let's just look at the goalkeeper.
Yeah.
You know, to have that guy in between the sticks. Now they brought in this Ramsdale. I don't know. He took Bournemouth down last year, didn't he? So who knows?
Yeah, true. Yeah. No, definitely. But we wish Chris Wilder very well.
Yeah, it's like my friend was saying to me the other day. He was like, you know, isn't it the players' fault? Shouldn't they be told off for this or whatever? And I said, unfortunately, if the manager isn't getting on with the board, it's very hard for them for the players not to feel that. Like, if he's so passionate, which he is, and he talks so openly, that trickles down to the players. And they start either throwing their toys out the pram, they start thinking something's up here, and that gets felt on the pitch. So every level you go to, there has to be this calm unity, or it gets lost on the pitch.
But, you know, let's also be honest. You've got 11 players on 11 contracts. You've got one manager on one contract.
Yeah. Seems like we've lost Ashley. Hopefully he's going to come back in a sec. Bit of technical difficulty here. Come on. Here he is. He's coming back in, people. Please. This is a public service announcement. Ashley Stanton has arrived back in the meeting room.
Apologies.
No problem. Technical stuff goes on all the time. It's fine. 11
what
players,
I was saying was
11 contracts, one manager.
11 contracts, 11 players. If you look at a business, it's easier to get rid of the one than the 11.
It depends if that one is holding everything together.
No. Honestly, like, it is the player power they have now. Like, employees have a lot of power now. You'd rather get rid of the manager, one contract, than get rid of 11 members of staff.
Yeah, no, it could be. Like, same with Frank. Easier to get rid of him than, and now you see what Tuchel's doing with the players. It's quite amazing. All right, so let's move on here. Talking of Tuchel, talking of the Chelsea, on the weekend, Chelsea had a draw against Leeds, and if you watch the match, great game. No one could finish a bloody shot off, but anyway, great game. And we took a point. Chelsea took a point, and it ended up being a pretty much vital point for the top four because Tottenham lost and West Ham lost as well. So I think whether we discuss this or move on, I think it's so vital. Like sometimes those 1 points are what makes the difference. And yeah, we went for the game. I watched the game. But that 1 point could be the difference between us grabbing top four or not this year now.
Yeah, I think it's a huge week for Chelsea. They've got the Champions League and the FA Cup.
Yeah.
It's the same for Manchester United. They've got the UEFA Cup and the FA Cup. You know, you'll know whether you're in the next round of both tournaments by Monday next week.
Yeah, and I just read with Atletico Madrid, they're going to throw everything but the kitchen sink at us. I mean, that team is just immense. I mean, Suarez, I don't know who he's going to bite this time, and it's Felix, and yeah. And it just seems like every time with Atletico Madrid, they seem to have 100 million rated bloody goalkeeper. This other goalkeeper they're talking about 100 million now.
Jan Oblak.
It's just ridiculous. You had your guy, and then you had us, Kepa, who's your David De Gea, Kepa, and now this
Kepa
guy.
never played for them.
Atletico, yeah. Bilbao.
Atletico
sorry.
Bilbao.
No, Bilbao. Apologies. Apologies. Okay, I take that back. I take that back. Yeah. All right. So I put out a thing last week about managers versus managers per game. And I think this is quite an interesting thing because, you know, week in, week out, different managers go up against each other. And I'm going to put this on the social media, but I think let's have a little game here now with it. So let's look at the Premier League this week. Games coming up. We've got Fulham v Leeds. Parker versus Bielsa. Who would you have as a manager?
Bielsa.
You'd have Bielsa. Okay. Brighton versus Newcastle. Potter versus Steve Bruce. Who would you have?
I'd have Potter. He's like the modern manager.
Okay. Villa versus Tottenham. This is a good one. Dean Smith versus Jose Mourinho.
I'm sorry, but Jose Mourinho is not doing very well at all. Dean Smith is doing very well this year with Aston Villa. I'd actually have Dean Smith, and I know that's controversial, but
controversial time, people. Comment. Let's hear your thoughts. Dean Smith or Jose Mourinho? Controversial. Ring that bell. Okay, moving on then. Another good game. It's going to be West Ham versus Arsenal. So David Moyes versus Arteta. Who are you having?
Well, Moyes failed at my club. He's doing very well, but I'd have Arteta because I think he's a better coach. But then again, I'm going for all the modern, improved managers and not the dinosaurs.
Interesting. Let's hear your thoughts, people. This is a good one as well. Now let's move on to the FA Cup. We've got Bournemouth versus Southampton. That's a coastal game coming up. It's Woodgate, Jonathan Woodgate, I think, still in there, versus Ralph Huntenlow, whatever his name is. Ralph Huntenlow. Yeah. Is that you having Southampton?
Yeah, I'd have Ralph. I mean, he was meant to get sacked last year after that 9-0 to Leicester, and he come back from the dead, and he's a good manager. I don't know a lot about Bournemouth, but a lot of people are saying, is it Brighton or Bournemouth they're playing?
It's Bournemouth, yeah. So Harry Redknapp's come back as well there.
Yeah, and a lot of people are saying, Woodgate's lucky to get the job. So Woodgate ain't done nothing special. So I'd rather have Hasselhoff.
Okay, all right. Big game, Everton versus Man City. A lot of history between these two with players coming and going between the clubs. Carlo Ancelotti, Pep Guardiola.
This is probably the toughest choice because I love both managers. But if you ever owned a football club and you had the chance between the two, you'd always go with Guardiola for what he can bring.
It's an interesting one, though. Carlo bought La Decima, and he bought the first league to PSG in 25 years or something. So it's interesting. Yeah. It's interesting.
Yeah, and he was part of the Milan team that were very dominant in Europe.
This is it. Yeah, exactly. All right. Chelsea versus Sheffield United. So Tuchel versus who knows? I think it's
Huckenball.
I don't even know who's at Sheffield United now, the manager. They've got some guy.
The reserves manager. I think it's Heckingbottom.
Okay. And then last one, this should be a good one, I think. Leicester versus United, Rodgers versus Ollie. Who you got? As a manager, who would you want?
It's a tough one, but I'm going to be biased and say Ollie.
He's gone again, people. Are we going to leave it like that? Is he going to be able to come back? I don't know. You're going to tune on till next week to find out who he's actually decided on? Oh, God, what a nutcase this kid is. Hopefully he's coming back in. Here he is. I thought we were going to leave people on edge there.
Sorry, hello. Sorry.
That's all right. Last one then. So we've got Rodgers and Ollie. Rodgers and Ollie, who are you going for?
Ollie, but I love Rodgers.
Okay. All right. So the bit of controversy there. I'm going to put this up on our Instagram or the Instagram page, and you guys get to vote as well. Check it out. It's on at Mark Square Training at the moment. We're going to make our own one. Two mates talking football leadership. But Ash, as always, a pleasure. I can't leave you without asking you the awkward question of the week. You thought you were getting away with it.
Yeah.
Management decision of the week.
You want to know mine?
Talk to me.
Mikel Arteta got a massive pair of balls to leave your top striker out in a London derby and win the game quite comfortably. The scoreline doesn't reflect how good Arsenal were that day.
No, I agree. And we probably should have said something about Spurs because they just didn't even turn up on the day. Don't know what happened there. Don't know what happened with them. Bit Spursy, I guess.
Spursy.
Bit Spursy. All right, people, want to hear comments, want to hear questions for next week. Let's put Ash more on the spot. Let's make him feel uncomfortable. Hopefully next week he won't cut out so many times. But if you like what you're hearing, subscribe to the page. We're going to set up a specific one. But at the moment, it's on Mark Square Sales Training and Motivation. Check it out. But we're going to be doing our own page, Two Mates Talking Football Leadership. But Ash, thanks a lot. And I will see you next week.
See you soon. Take care.
Later. Thanks for tuning into the show, guys. This is a weekly podcast where me and my mate are having a chat about things that happen in the week of football and the comparisons with business leadership and football leadership. That's what we're looking to discuss. It should have the feeling of you when you sat around with your mates having a chat about the game and breaking the whole thing down. There's some controversy, there's some people that have different opinions. Write in, comment, let's hear your thoughts on the game, let's hear your thoughts on our opinions. But give it a thumbs up, give it a share, let's get these subscribers up so everyone can enjoy Two Mates Talking Football Leadership.